Hello students, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. Today we are going to discuss about the recently released report that measures the environment performance of various countries that is released in this year 2022, and in this particular video we are going to investigate that how has India fared on this particular index, what has been the overall performance of India on various parameters that this index particularly calculate. So first of all, the context in which we are discussing today's issue is because the India has been ranked at the bottom of this particular environment performance index among the 180 countries that is ranked as per the index. If we talk briefly about this particular index, so it is basically an international ranking system that measures environmental health as well as the sustainability of the countries. If we compare India's performance with its past year performance, so in 2020, the last time when this particular index was released, India was occupying 168th position with the overall score of 27.6. However, in this particular year, India's rank has declined to the bottom of 180 with overall score of 18.9. So India's performance has worsened in last 2 years as per the statement or as per the report of Environment Performance Index. Not only that, India also has performed low on parameters such as rule of law, control of corruption, as well as the effectiveness of the government according to the EPI. So let us try to understand India's ranking and standing with its neighboring countries. So India's main neighbors, Afghanistan occupies the highest position in this particular index with 81st rank, while before India we have countries like Bangladesh, Pakistan all occupying the lower rung of this particular index. Now if you look at the top performing countries, so Denmark is at rank 1 with a total score of 77.9. And if you look at that, all the top 8 performing countries, what are the common things, what are the commonality we see among them is all these countries are European countries and are very developed economies. While if we take a look at the bottom 8 performing countries, apart from India, Myanmar, Vietnam, Bangladesh and Pakistan, these 5 countries are Asian countries, while the upper 4 countries or 3 countries we can say like Haiti, Liberia, Papua New Guinea, they belong to South America or the African continent. So basically what we can say, the countries, European countries having much developed economies are performing much better on environment performance as compared to the low developed, least developed or developing economies of continents like Asia as well as Africa. Now, if you look at some of the key indicators on which the ranking is done, so in case of India, we can see the worst rank India has got, it is in the matters of biodiversity as well as the air quality, while the best rank which India has received is in the matter of management of waste. And then we have other factors like protected areas, species protection index, climate policy, ecosystem vitality and several such other parameters on which India has performed somewhere between India has got the rank somewhere between 170 to 180. So let us try to understand briefly what does Environment Performance Index tells us. So first of all, it is a biennial index. Biennial index means that this is released every 2 years, and first of all it was started in year 2002 as name of Environment Sustainability Index. Later on its name was changed to Environment Performance Index. The report is released mainly by organization that is well known as World Economic Forum. However, it also has a collaboration with Yale Center for Environmental Law and Policy and the Columbia University Center for International Earth Sciences Information Network, both these universities being in the United States of America. Overall, it measures the performance of various countries on 40 broader parameters which covers around 11 issue categories. Indicator of which countries are best addressing this, basically this environment performance index we can say is nothing but a broad indicator, a rough indicator of which countries are in the best way addressing environmental challenges for today as well as for its future generation. So what are the indicators of measurement of EPI? Broadly, we can divide the indicators of measurement into 3 broad categories. The first category is the country is measured on the basis of the performance in the climate change issue. That means what are the steps, what are the laws, policies, or what are the general steps that the government and the public are taking to ensure that the overall we can say adaptability or mitigation of the climate related changes can be easily ensured. Second parameter is the health of environment. Basically, health of environment covers areas like waste management, the extent of air pollution, the extent of water pollution and such. And third is the ecosystem vitality, where the forest reserve of country, the biodiversity, the health of biodiversity of the country's overall diversity in the natural resources, all these things are measured. So these are the three broader categories. However, in this particular year, 3 more categories have been included by Environment Performance Index. These 3 new categories that have been included are, it is also measuring the country's progress toward achieving net zero emission by year 2050. The second category that has been included is new air quality indicators have been added that measures different pollutants that were earlier not measured in the EPI. And third is, it also measures, since agriculture is one of the most dominating economic activities of majority of developing countries, now it also is measuring that whether countries are engaged in sustainable pesticide use or not. So broadly what we can say, that in this particular year, total 6 major categories are there on which the countries have been ranked. So now what are the major findings of the report? The first important finding is that what this report says, that good policy results are associated with wealth that is calculated by taking into consideration GDP per capita. That means the countries which are having higher GDP per capita, their environmental policy have yielded much better result as compared to countries which are having low GDP per capita. The second point, it says that specifically this first statement holds true when we look at the indicator of environmental health, that as we discussed takes into consideration the extent of pollution, the water pollution, air pollution. Apart from that, it also takes into consideration the extent of waste management and all these things, the infrastructure. So in these cases, the countries which are much wealthier also have performed much more better. And the reason is very simple, because the management of air, water pollution and the sustainable practices required huge investment in infrastructure, and since the wealthier countries have spare capital or to spend on these kind of activities, and that is why they have fared well. The third important point that has been noted as per this report is that developed countries have shown even performance on almost all the broad categories, all the broad criteria on which ranking has been done, while if you talk about developing economies, they have performed unevenly. That means developing economies, they have fared very better or done very well in some areas, while in some areas their performance are very bad. So there is issue of evenness versus unevenness between developed and developing countries respectively. Then the other important findings of this report are that what it says, that where the countries which have focused on decarbonization of electricity sector, that means where the countries are making constant effort to switch to renewable sources of energy, they have made the greatest gain in combating the climate change. The second point is there is a need for greater attention to the spectrum of sustainability requirements, because in these issues or in the areas of sustainability, especially developing countries have fared very bad. And some countries which are considered as LDC, that is least developed countries such as Nepal and Afghanistan, they are also facing a lot of several challenges because of the civil unrest, and the low scores of these countries can also be attributed to the weak governance structure that these countries have. Especially if you look at the Afghanistan, since the Taliban took control of the country in August last year, since then the governance of this country has totally crumbled, and that is why their policies, especially toward issues such as climate change, is not that much stronger, and that is why obviously they are ranked very bad. So what has been the India's response on the ranking published by EPI? So first of all, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they have issued a rebuttal, and they have said that they do not agree with the overall content of this report, and mainly it is on the basis that the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change believe that assessments are based on certain unfounded assumptions. The next point is the Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change also says that whenever the report has measured the greenhouse gas emission, it has computed the change in the GHG emission on the basis of average rate of change in just last 10 years, while India wanted it to take into consideration the overall longer time period to measure the change, because obviously the developed countries has been we can say producing greenhouse gases for a very long period of time, especially since the industrial revolution, while developing countries have jumped into that bandwagon very late, and that is why measurement of just last 10 years does not produce an honest picture of the GHG emission by various countries. The third point is that Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change also says that if environment performance index have not taken into consideration a crucial carbon sinks that mitigate overall effect of greenhouse gases such as forests and wetland, and these should be taken into consideration, especially because India has paid a lot of attention in increasing its forest cover as well as restoring a lot of its wetland, but that has not been included in the performance of the index. Not only that, India also has objected that this particular index have given very low weightage of just 2.6% to the per capita greenhouse gas emission. And this is very crucial for countries which has high population like India and China, because obviously even if India and China are able to curb their GHG emission, because of their high population, the absolute value of GHG emission will be quite higher. And that is why it is important that measurement of GHG should be considered in terms of per capita rather than being absolute in number. The second point is that India also has said that the report has emphasized more on the extent of protected areas rather than what kind or what quality of protection is being given or enjoyed by the biodiversity in the protected areas. The third point, India says that since a large number of countries, especially in Asia and Africa, especially developing countries, have agriculture as a major economic activities, and that is why parameters or factors such as agro-biodiversity, soil health, food loss and waste should be included when we are calculating the environment performance of the countries, while these has been totally ignored, and that is why they do not capture the actual change in the developing economies. So these are the 6 major protests, we can say, or 6 major objections that the government of India has said about this particular report. So let us try to understand what are the scientists and especially Indian scientists are saying about this particular report. So first of all, the scientists also do not agree with certain issues of this report. The first being that they say or they criticize the report on the basis that the report have assumed that every country has to reach net zero by year 2050. And that means every country at the same time by year 2050 has to achieve a net zero GHG emission. That is not possible because, as you know, the countries, developing countries like India, China, South Africa, these countries have joined industrial revolution and have jumped onto the wagon of industrialization much late as compared to developed countries, and that is why these countries should be allowed actually to develop more and emit more greenhouse gases as compared to the developed economies. However, the same target of 2050, that is why, is not viable. The second criticism is that the report is neither ethically correct nor reflects the actual political reality, because again, same point, we are expecting all the countries to reach the level of deindustrialization or reach the level of renewable energy at the same time. Not only that, the criticism is also on the basis that economic, developmental and environmental diversity of various countries or various continents have not been taken into account in this particular report. So these are the 3 criticisms that we are seeing from the scientific community. However, what we can say in conclusion, that though there are a lot of inconsistencies in this particular report, we should also not ignore the fact that since the report has been started to publish, India never has improved its rank to like less than 150, and even in last year like 2020, India's rank was 168, which cannot be considered as very good. So despite all the inconsistency, this is something that we should not ignore. Not only that, India does have severe local environmental issues which have been highlighted in the report, and thus we should look at those as well and try to address it as soon as possible. So there are a lot of negative connotation of this report, but we should focus on what we can actually take away from this report and thus work on that and improve that. That is all about this particular issue. Thank you very much.